सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। So we completed up to the 39th verse, and so that was the question on what is bondage, ko nama bandha, and we were looking at verse 39. Atranat manyaham iti matihi bandhaeshosya pumsaha prapto jnanat janana marana klesha sampata hetuhu. Enaivayam vapuridam satyamityatma buddhya pushyut yukshat yavati vishayaihi tantubhe koshakritvat. So, this verse answers ko nama bandha. What is bondage? That is in fact the very first question in the list. Bondage is not a physical bondage. It is purely a wrong mental or intellectual conclusion about myself, which I call self-misconception. Mistaking the temporary anatma as my real self. So there, the physical body, which is the grossest one, identified with that, I struggled throughout my life to make that body immortal. My essential nature is Atma, which is immortal in nature. But I wrongly identify with the Anatma, and I'm going to be a mortal, which I cannot accept. Therefore, we try to protect the body, safeguard the body, in which effort we continuously fail. The whole life becomes a long struggle in the wrong direction. This dehabhimana is bondage. It makes me a jivatma, ahankara. Therefore, tantubihi koshakritvat. Tantubihi, like the thread. Koshakrit means silkworm. Just as the silkworm tries to protect itself with the help of the thread, similarly, the human being struggles to protect the body with various things, but the body can never be protected. It is intrinsically insecure. It is subject to decay, right? And a jnani understands this. Not that he ignores his health, but he understands that the body is subjected to diseases, old age, and death. Swamiji recently calls it the 3Ds: degeneration, diseases, and then death. He understands the jnani and he accepts the fact. Matras parshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukhadukkadaha agama payino nityas tam titikshasva bharata. In Gita, in the second chapter, we saw, right? Krishna tells, learn to go through them with objectivity by standing aloof, right? So that is possible only if I know that I am the user of this body. I am not the body. Really, I am someone different who is immortal. Not knowing this fact, the human being is permanently paranoid, right? And that is called samsara koshakritvat, right? Exactly like the silkworm. And this is the definition of bondage, right? Deha abhimana in Sanskrit, or bodily identification, is samsara. So with this, actually, 3 questions have been answered, right? So, and now we are going to the 4th question. Katam esha agataha, right? Katam eshaha agataha. Akhanda nitya dvaya bodha shaktya.
Akhanda nitya dvaya bodha shaktya.
Purantamatmanam vaibhavam.
Purantamatmanam
Samavrinotya vritti shaktiresha.
समावृणोत्यावृतिशक्तिरेषा
तमोमयी राहुरिवार्कबिम्बम्
तमोमयी राहुरिवार्कबिम्बम्.
So the fourth question that is taken up for answer is Katham Esha Agataha. So the word Eshaha here refers to the Bandaha, the bondage, because that was the previous question that was answered. So how has the human bondage come into existence? So what is the diagnosis so that we can take some remedial measures? So in these verses that is going to be answered, and very, very important verses because they are the very foundation of Vedanta that is going to be explained here. So, and in fact, the portion that is going to come up now, you don't see it explained this way in very many texts. In fact, maybe Vivekachudamani is unique in discussing this. So we will see how the approach it takes. We saw before that every individual has three sharirams. And the most fundamental and the longest lasting body is Karana Shariram. So this Karana Shariram was given different names. It was called Shakti, Avyaktam, Maya, Avidya, right? So every individual has his own Karana Shariram holding all the Sanchita Karma. So every individual has got Avidya as the Karana Shariram, which avidya is called Mula avidya because it is the fundamental personality of the jiva. Then we saw that avidya has got avarana and vikshepa shakti. Very important concept that is discussed very nicely here in Vivekachudamani. Avarana and vikshepa shakti, of which at the macro level we saw vikshepa shakti is responsible for the creation of the universe. But at the macro level, we did not talk about Avarana Shakti because Bhagavan doesn't have self-ignorance. Avarana Shakti doesn't function in the case of Bhagavan. So Bhagavan uses Vikshepa Shakti of Maya to create the universe. That is at the macro level. So now we have come down to individual living being at the micro level. In fact, in the 4th chapter of the Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, right? Tanyaham Veda Sarvam Natvam Veti Tvam. He tells Arjuna that you don't remember everything, but I remember everything because the Lord doesn't have Avarana Shakti, right? So now we have come down to the individual level or at the micro level, and here we are going to talk about the function of both Vikshepa Shakti and Avarana Shakti. So Avarana Shakti is functional in the individual Karna Shariram. Therefore, the Avarana Shakti becomes active. And because of that, the individual does not know his real nature. The Avarana Shakti expresses itself as self-ignorance, concealing my real nature, Atma. And once Avarana Shakti covers my real nature, the Vikshepa Shakti takes over. Ignorance leads to false conclusions or mistakes, and this mistake is caused by Vikshepa Shakti. All other consequences are caused by Vikshepa Shakti. Thus, Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti belonging to Karana Shariram or Avidya becomes the cause for bondage. So basically, these two forces join together, right? And cause the problem at the individual level. Of these two, if you think, right, logically, which one is operational first and which does not operate in Bhagavan? In Bhagavan, as I said, Avarana Shakti doesn't operate. Whereas in Jiva, it operates. That is the Avarana Shakti, which is the concealing power. And that is what operates first. So after Avarana Shakti conceals the truth, Vikshepa Shakti becomes active. And this Avarana Shakti is connected to Tamoguna. And Vikshepa Shakti is connected to Rajoguna. Thus, Tamoguna and Rajoguna are both jointly in a project. They conspire and push the human being into the ditch of samsara, right? So that is the big difference between Bhagavan and the individual, right? Luckily, the Sattva Guna is available as an escape route. That Sattva Guna is the one that will ultimately lead to self-knowledge. and liberate me from self-ignorance and self-misconception. So here the development is tamoguna backed avarana shakti, rajoguna backed vikshepa shakti together cause the human bondage. So tatamesha agataha, that is going to be the development, right? So esha tamomayi avriti shaktihi, avriti shaktihi. So the avarana shakti, the concealing power of Mula Vidya, the Karana Shariram, tamomayi, is basically the adjective to avriti shaktihi. Avriti and avaranam are synonymous. Tamomayi means that which is an expression of tamoguna, that which belongs to Mula Vidya or Maya. So tamomayi esha means basically intimately available, especially during sushupti. So in deep sleep state, we intensely experience the avarana shakti because during sleep, the vikshepa shakti, the projection power is not active because we are in total ignorance. So we won't commit any mistake in the deep sleep state. So total ignorance is bliss. Therefore, esha tamomayi avriti shakti, this intensely experienced avarana shakti, it is there in the deep sleep state. Samavrinoti, it conceals, covers my real higher nature. Atmanam avrinoti. And what type of Atma it is? What is the Atma that is being concealed or covered? That is the first line of the shloka here. Akhanda Nitya Advaya Bodha Shaktya Spurantam Atmanam. So Atma, the consciousness, which is all the time evident as I am consciousness, I am conscious of the waking state, I am conscious of the dream state. What I am conscious of varies, that I am conscious doesn't vary, right? So this ever available consciousness is avrinoti, concealed as it were. So spurantam means ever shining, ever evident, because of what? Akanda nitya advaya bodha shaktya. Here Shakti means Swarupam, because of that nature of Akhanda. Akhanda, undivided, right? It is not you have to be careful with this adjective. It is not that every human being has his own individual consciousness. There is only one all-pervading consciousness like space, which pervades the entire creation. Akhandaha means indivisible. Nitya means eternal. So the entire creation, Akhandaha, eternal, and Advaya means non-dual. So it does not have any internal division. Advaya means there is no external division, there is no second. So there's no, in Vedantic language, Swagata Bedaha or Sajatiya Bedaha. So undifferentiated, non-dual, Bodha. Bodha means Chaitanyam, consciousness. Shaktya meaning Swarupam. So because of the indivisible, eternal, secondless consciousness as its nature, Atma is evident all the time. Sfurantam. Sfurantam basically is the object of Samavrinoti, right? And it is qualifying Atmanam. Sfurantam Atmanam Samavrinoti. This wonderful great Atma, Ananta Vaibhavam, which has got infinite glory as described in the Upanishad. Thus the Avidya or the Avarana Shakti manages to cover this infinitely glorious, ever evident Atma. Samyak avrinoti is samavrinoti. Very important point. What do we mean by covering? Right? Really speaking, nothing can cover the Atma because Atma is infinite and all-pervading. If Atma has to be covered, you have to find something which is much larger, right? Otherwise, it will get exposed, right? So the covering does not really take place really, because if Atma is completely covered by ignorance, we will not even know the presence of the ignorance. Now I'm aware of my ignorance because, right, consciousness is able to illumine that state of the intellect. So if consciousness itself is covered, I can never say that consciousness is covered. Therefore, covering is only figurative in manner. So the Avarana Shakti creates twofold notion in me, right? This creation of this twofold notion is Avaranam. First, it creates a feeling, right? A notion, Atma Nasti. Atma na bhati. That's the second one. So if I have these two ideas, then Nastikas may say there is nothing called the soul, right? There is nothing called Atma, right? And you can say this entire Vedanta is a bluff. It's all there because, some people want to, generally teach that so that people can, listen to something for 2 hours. No, right? So that is avriti. Basically, it is not evident. Atma nasti, atma na bhati. That is, it is just a notion that is created that Atma is not there just because I don't experience the Atma. So this statement is called avaranam, which is concealing within double quotes, right? So tamomai rahur iva arkabhimbam, right? Rahuhu arkabhimbam iva, like the mythological Rahu, right? The shadow of the moon eclipses the sun during the solar eclipse. So the shadow of the moon is called Rahu. That comes in between the earth and the sun, and the shadow covers the sun, right? So it is called Rahu. In Dakshinamurti Stotram, we see Rahu Grasta Divakarendu Sadusho Maya Samachadana. So the planet Rahu, or the Rahu as it is called, Arkabimbam Iva, just as it covers the solar disk, so also Avidya's Avarana Shakti conceals my real nature, which means I become ignorant. And when did this ignorance start? Right? We've discussed this even before in Tattva Bodha. Right? While discussing Karna Shariram also we saw this. The ignorance is anadihi, beginningless. So the concealment did not start at any point in history. So the self-ignorance is beginningless. That is why I thought, a larger crowd is here, so I should explain this. During the Amani Avattam ceremony, right, the Shravana Purnima day, when they change the thread, right, there is a very big sankalpa that is taken, right? Anadi avidya vasanaya pravartamane asmin mahati samsara chakre vichitrabihi karma gatibihi vichitrasu yonishu punah anekada janitva kenapi punya karma visheshena some punya karma idanintana manushye dvija janma vishesham praptavatah Mama iha janmani purva janmani janma janmantareshu cha balye vayasi kaumare yauvane vardhakyecha. During all these janmas and during my childhood, youth, all of them, right? Jagrat swapna sushupti avastasu manovakkaya karmendriya jnanendriya vyaparaha sambhavitanam upapatakanam sankalikarananam malinikarananam Jatibramsha karanam prakirnakanam evam. It goes on like this. Navanam, Navavidanam, Bahunam, and then you complete it, ask for whatever you have to ask, and then you do the Sannidau Sankalpam Karishye. So during the Avaniavata Sankalpam, we talk about this Anadi Avidya Vasanaya, but we don't extend it as we mature through the religious practices and spiritual practices to connect it back or extend and connect it back with this Karana Sharira Avidya, right, which is Anadi. So Anadi Avidya. Thus, because of the beginningless ignorance, beginningless Avarana Shakti, beginninglessly I ignore my real nature, Paramatma nature, and I mistake myself as the Anatma and become Jivatma and suffer Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, and that is how the first part of the bondage starts. Now, why is this the first part? Because now only Avarana Shakti has done its work. Now, Vikshepa Shakti has to take over, right? Once Avarana part is over, the next in the relay is Vikshepa Shakti, right? So, that is what is described in the next shloka. So, this shloka is Avarana Shakti and the next shloka is Vikshepa Shakti. Akhanda Nitya Dvaya Bodha Shaktya Sfurantamatmanam Vaibhavam Samavrinotya Vritti Shaktiresha तमोमयि राहुरिवार्कबिम्बम् तिरोभूते स्वात्मनि
तिरोभूते स्वात्मनि
अमलतरतेजोवति पुमान्
अमलतरतेजोवति पुमान्
अनात्मानं मोहात्
अनात्मानं मोहात्
अहमिति शरीरं कलयति
अहमिति शरीरं कलयति
ततः कामक्रोधप्रभृतिर्भिरमुं बन्धनगुणैः
ततः कामक्रोधप्रभृतिभिरमुं बन्धनगुणैः
परं विक्षेपाख्या रजसौरुशक्तिर्व्यथयति
परं विक्षेपाख्या रजसौरुशक्तिर्व्यथयति.
So, Acharya says here in the fourth line, Rajasa Urushaktir Vyatayati. Rajasaha, right? Urushakti means intense power, enormous power named Vikshepakya. Vikshepa means disturbing, agitating, right? Activating. So, this power of Rajasaha, the Rajoguna, Vikshepa Shakti's power, makes the human being permanently restless all the time, wanting to do something or the other. So that struggle is started. Therefore, Rajasaha Vikshepakya Uru Shakti, powerful force of Rajoguna, named Vikshepa Shakti, Vyatayati, torments the human being, whips up the human being and makes life a continuous struggle, often without knowing, wondering what that struggle is for, right? There's no clarity. So how does Vikshepa Shakti manage to do that? That is what is described here. So, Swatmani tirobhute sati. So once the Atma is hidden, the fact that I am Brahman has been hidden, right? Swa Atmani, my Atma Swarupam, tirobhute sati. Tirobhutam, meaning hidden, concealed. And what type of Atma? Amala Tara Tejovati. So that wonderful Atma of the nature of pure shining consciousness. Basically, it's not physically shining like a bulb, right? It is Swayam Prakasha. Swaprakasha Tejovati. Right? So Tejovati is again Saptami Vibhakti here, qualifying Atmani. Puman mohat anatmanam shariram aham iti kalayati. Once this ever effulgent Atma is so covered, Puman, this human being is going to commit a blunder. Instead of claiming aham brahmasmi, he looks at the body, which is intimately available, and mistakes the body as himself, right? Which is the biggest blunder. So, anatmanam, this anatma, the non-self, the perishable material body, which is shariram, right? Anatmanam shariram, he claims as himself. And shariram, the definition is shiryamana swabhavam, that which is continuously disintegrating or, right, is aging, growing, graying, going, as Swamiji puts it. So that's the journey of the body. So the very name itself, Shariram itself indicates it is decaying matter, right? So Shariram Anatmanam is a very useful medium for transactions. It is not worth claiming as myself. So Swamiji often gives this example, which is very strong. He says a washerman may use a donkey. It is highly useful to him, but claiming I am one is not an intelligent conclusion. Similarly, the body is a wonderful medium, but it is a terrible object to claim as self. Therefore, mohat, because of aviveka, because of not knowing the difference between atma and anatma, which is called moha, because of delusion, shariram anatmanam aham iti kalayati. Kalayati means chintayati, right? Bhavayati, he mistakes. So once I mistake the body as myself, That is called bandhaha, right? Which was defined in verse 39. So Acharya says, pushyati, ukshati, avati. So I then try to preserve the body, right? Ensure that it's all right, take care of it. But the truth is, body is ever insecure. So that bondage, which was defined in verse 39, and its cause is given here because of the avarana shakti, right? Shakti, the misidentification takes place because of avarana shakti. And once that happens, right, I become a mortal individual living being. I'm caught up in samsara, in varieties of emotional problems. So up to avarana shakti, it is an intellectual problem, right? Then that triggers varieties of emotional problems, which is said here, tataha, kama krodha prabritibihi amum bandhana gunaihi. Once I conclude I am a finite, incomplete, mortal living being, I have fallen from my real nature. I have disowned my real nature. I have taken a false identity that I am a mortal human being. And I have come away to an unfamiliar place called Anatma, right? I am not comfortable with myself. This discomfort is because of the problem not being diagnosed, and this is called samsara, right? So, I experienced the spiritual disease called self-inadequacy, apurnatvam. And the life is a struggle to get rid of the sense of incompleteness. So this is the fundamental and legitimate desire of every human being. I want Purnatvam. So Veda says the problem is self-misconception is arising out of self-ignorance, right? So I should know that I have to gain self-knowledge to get rid of self-ignorance and self-misconception. That is what I need. My goal is thus very clear. Before that, I require to qualify, right? So for the qualification, I need to practice karma yoga, which is a legitimate desire. For karma yoga, I require worldly resources, relationships, family, etc. Right? So I know that self-knowledge will give me fulfillment, but I get the qualifications through karma yoga. So I know that worldly resources can only give me chitta shuddhi, the qualification, but never give fulfillment, because every object and person I'm related to is finite. They cannot give me purnatvam. None of the panchanatmas, whether it is family, body, mind, family means spouse, daughter, son, whoever it is, right? And your office, the profession, possessions, none of them. So I realized that very well. So I do karma yoga to develop chitta shuddhi, gain the qualification. Then my desires also become well informed and well directed. I know what I can gain from the world and what I cannot expect from the world. I can get qualification, but world can never give me fulfillment, right? So if the Vedic guidance is not there, right, I will only have misplaced desires, and the worldly desire can continuously make me a materialistic person. So one after the other, the milestones I keep trying to achieve, right? First study, get a job, then get married, then have children, then build a house, right? Struggle for wealth, one after the other, right? So I continuously go to the world shop for Purnatvam, and I miserably fail. Only a few rare people go in and get the Vedic guidance because of Purva Janma Punya. Many others do not seek this, right? So Acharya says, Tataha kama krodha pravritibihi amum bandhana gunaihi. The endless worldly desires for Purnatvam, some of them are chasing, right? And of them, some desires are fulfilled. There is some temporary peace because of that. Some of them are a long struggle, and still I don't get any Purnatvam. It is just temporary fix. And they give the example of the baby sucking the thumb. It mistakes its own saliva as mother's milk, right? So the baby's hunger, real hunger, will go away only by mother's milk. That alone will fill the stomach, right? Vedanta says the entire humanity is like the baby sucking the worldly thumb. All the thumb-sucking babies are in reality seeking the mother's milk of Purnatvam, which can only be given by the mother. Gita Dugdam, Gita Amritam Mahat. Only Shruti Mata can give that milk of Purnatvam. As long as we keep on acquiring worldly things, expecting milk of Purnatvam from them, we are only involved in sucking the thumb. Asare khalu samsare sukhabrantir manishinaha lala pana iva angushte balanam stanya vibramaha. Human beings get only an illusion of peace temporarily. Lala panamiva angushte, right? Balanam. So it is exactly like the baby sucks the thumb and takes in its own saliva. Stanya vibramaha, mistaking the saliva as mother's milk. So too the materialistic society is only exactly like a thumb sucking society. So they will be pacified for some time, but again the hunger will restart. Therefore, kama. And when the desires are endless and I'm not able to fulfill them, I'm already old, right? Then I have my grandchildren's desires also, which become my desires. Then I get frustrated and depressed. So, as often, Swamiji has this acronym HAFD: helplessness to anger to frustration to depression. So, kama, krodha, prabhriti bhi, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, etc. In short, all forms of emotional turmoil, bandhaka gunaihi, each one binds a person to his own anatma world. So, as Yamadharma Raja says in Katopanishad, parachak kamana nayanti, बालास्ते मृत्योर्यन्ति विततस्य पाशम पराचः कामान अनुयन्ति, right? कामान अनुयन्ति बालास्ते मृत्योर्यन्ति विततस्य पाशम. So indiscriminate ones go after external pleasures and they enter the net of death, which is all the time there, right? Then having discovered the absolute immortality, atadhira amritatvam viditva dhruvam adhruveshviha na prartayante, right? They never seek anything here amidst the impermanent, right? So basically, these fools are looking for the infinite in the finite world. They are like immature children. Yamadharma Raja says they only come into my hands, right? Again and again, right? So the desires keep the human beings tied down within samsara. The fourth line here, that is the last part here, Vikshepa Akya Rajasaha Urushaktihi Param Vyatayati, right? So the Vikshepa Shakti of Rajoguna Vyatayati means agitates or disturbs. So the moment I get up with this stress, the plan, the ideas, right? And I'm running, I begin running, right? So Param Vyatayati means intensely agitates the mind. Intellectual problem has now got converted into an emotional problem. Then we will consider Vedanta also as an unnecessary intellectual exercise. Why? Because I already have so many problems. I don't have any time. Why should I study Vedanta? So this is the sad state of majority of human beings. Urushaktir Vyatayati Bandagunaihi Param, binding nature in the form of emotional disturbances. So Bandaka Gunaihi is adjective to Kama Krodha Prabritibihi. Right? Tirobhute Swatmani Amalatara Tejovati Puman Anatmanam Mohad Ahamiti Shariram Kalayati Tatak Kama Krodha Prabrutibhiramum Bandana Gunaihi Param Vikshepakya Rajasa Urushaktir Vyatayati. Etabhyameva Shaktibhyam
एताभ्यामेव शक्तिभ्याम्
बन्धः पुंसः समागतः
बन्धः पुंसः समागतः
याभ्यां विमोहितो देहम्
याभ्यां विमोहितो देहम्
मत्वात्मानं भ्रमत्ययम्.
मत्वात्मानं भ्रमत्ययम्.
So, ethabhyam eva shaktibhyam, because of these two powers conspiring, two powers meaning avarana shakti and vikshepa shakti, the concealing power and the deluding power. It's a micro avarana shakti and vikshepa shakti. So we must remember that Vikshepa Shakti is referred to in Vedanta in two different contexts. Otherwise, we'll get confused. When we talk about Bhagavan's creation of this world, there we talk about the Vikshepa Shakti of Maya, which Bhagavan uses to create the world. For Bhagavan, neither Avarana nor Vikshepa Shakti is a bondage. In fact, he uses Vikshepa Shakti to create the world. That's not a bondage. But when we talk about these two powers in the context of the individual, both of them together become bondage. For the individual, Vikshepa Shakti doesn't create this world, but it converts the Ishvara Srishti, the world, into Jiva Srishti or Samsara. So he converts the Padartha into Vishaya. So for every object in the world which is beautiful and enjoyable, I develop either Raga or Dvesha. And once I label the object as an object of Raga or Dvesha, the object is no more an innocent Padartha. It has become Vishayaha. So its very sight or even thought of it disturbs. So the conversion of Ishvara Srishti into bondage is called Jiva Srishti. So Ishvara Srishti is because of macro Vikshepa Shakti. Jiva Srishti in the form of converting the world into literally a jail, right? So that is micro Vikshepa Shakti. So we should always clearly differentiate this in our heads at least, right? Between macro Vikshepa Shakti, which is the cause of the universe, and micro Vikshepa Shakti, which is the cause of the emotional turmoil. A jnani also experiences the world. So the macro Vikshepa Shakti continues, but the mental turmoil he avoids by removing the avaranam from the Vikshepa, meaning he is not deluded by it. So, etabhyam eva shaktibhyam, because of these two powers conspiring, bandhaha pumsaha samagataha. So, the bondage of the human being, right? Human beings, because animals do not have a well-developed intellect. Therefore, they do not have this problem. They do not even have a well-developed free will. But in the case of human beings, bandhaha samagataha, that samsara bondage has arrived. Yabhyam shaktibhyam vimohitaha. And how does this bondage occur? Yabhyam. Because of these two powers, vimohitaha, the human body, human being is deluded right from birth. So Krishna says in the Gita, Sarva Bhutani Sammoham Sarge Yanti Parantapa. So in the 7th chapter, right, we get the elaboration of these verses. So all the human beings are deluded right from birth because of these two forces. And this delusion causes what? Vimohitaha Deham Atmanam Matva Brahmati. Deham Atmanam mistakes the body as himself. The immortal has been converted into mortal. The infinite has been converted into finite. The ananda has been converted into dukkham. Therefore, deham atmanam matva, mistaking the body, all the three bodies as atma, I am brahmati. This human being wanders about, knocks about, earning, acquiring, traveling, endlessly he continues. So that is how the bondage has been caused by these avarana and vikshepa shakti of Mula Vidya, the Karana Shariram. So with this, how the bondage has come has been answered. What is Anatma has been answered, right? Question number 6, what is Anatma? What is Atma has been answered. What is bondage has been answered, right? So it is most important to know that our whole problem is intellectual. Even though we call it a spiritual problem, it is not a problem regarding the spirit, the problem of the intellect, right? So that is why traditional people always talk of scriptural study, jignasu bhakti. You have to come to the scriptures, right? So nowadays, what is happening is people don't mind, chanting religious shlokas, going for so many of those functions. Nothing wrong in all of that. But ultimately, the value of the Vedantic study, of the scriptural study, that people are missing, right? Bhagavad Gita at least must be completely studied. Karma yoga is important, right? But ultimately, we have to study. We have to come to this jnana yoga, right? You can talk about service, meditation, kundalini, so many types of bhakti, right? But we have to ultimately come to this. Here we are clearly diagnosing the problem. The problem lies in our buddhi. We have concluded that we are the body, right? All other sadhanas are important, but scriptural study must go on simultaneously. The study of Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and allied texts. So, the importance of the study will become clear only when we understand these verses. Ethabhyam eva shaktibhyam bandhav pumsaf samagatah yabhyam vimohito deham matvatmanam brahmatyayam. So, with this 42nd verse, Acharya completes answers to 4 of the 7 questions, as I said. So he has talked about Anatma, the non-self Atma, the real self, Bandhaha, bondage, and lastly, Katamesha Agataha, how did the bondage come, or the cause of the bondage? He said it is because of the ignorance of the Atma. So 4 questions have been answered. Now, basically, we can talk about the 4 layers of bondage based on this development. The original cause of bandha is self-ignorance, which is the first layer of samsara or bondage. Then the self-misconception, the consequence is the second layer of bondage. So, ajnanam is first layer, adhyasa second layer. Then the third layer is emotional layer that is activated by the vikshepa shakti. Varieties of emotional turmoil like kama, krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya, etc. Right? Then the fourth one, which is not mentioned here, is the cycle of birth and death. So the word samsara means traveling from one physical body to another. Thus, ajnanam, adhyasaha, that is self-ignorance, self-misconception, tapatrayam, right? And then the Punarjanma. Tapatrayam is basically Adhyatmika, Adi Daivika, and Adi Bhautika related problems. All emotional problems also will come there. And then lastly, Punarjanma. So self-ignorance, self-misconception, emotional turmoil, rebirth and death. All these 4 layers put together is called bondage or bandhaha. So according to the context, we can refer to any one of these. All 4 are caused by Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. So therefore, Shankaracharya said, Etabhyam eva Shaktibhyam, because of these 2 powers belonging to Avidya or Karana Shariram, all these 4 layers arise. Now he is taking up the question, Katham Asya Pratishta. How does this samsara, these 4 layers, persist in the life of a jiva? Right? Life of, we should not say life of human being, it is life of a jiva. How does samsara persist? Bijam samsriti bhumijasya tutamo.
Bijam samsriti bhumijasya tutamo.
Dehatmadhirankuraha.
Dehatmadhirankuraha.
Raghav pallavamambukarmatu vapuhu.
Raghav pallavamambukarmatu vapuhu.
Skando savashakikaha.
Skandho savashakhikaha.
Agranindriya samhatischa vishayaha.
Agranindriya samhatischa vishayaha.
Pushpani dukkham phalam.
Pushpani dukkham phalam.
Nana karma samudbhavam bahuvidham.
Nana karma samudbhavam bahuvidham.
Bhoktatra jiva khagaha.
Bhoktatra jivah khagaha.
So, katham asya pratishtha. Pratishtha meaning persistence or continuity in this context. So, how does it sustain itself for such a long time? So, samsara is supposed to be anadi, which means it has survived for several creations, not several births, several creations. And basically, according to Hinduism, creation itself is a cyclical process. So the present creation will end, leading to another Srishti. Before the current cosmos, there was another cosmos. So Srishti itself has been repeating from beginningless time, and samsara has survived for several Srishtis. So that is why if you see, samsara is covered, is compared, right? The jiva's life is compared to a vriksha. The tree comparison is very, very common in our scriptures. And in Kathopanishad, you see, Urdhva Mulo Vak Shaka Eshoshvata Sanatanaha. The more commonly known one is the one from Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter. Urdhva Moolam Adashakam Ashwattam Prahuravyayam. Here also a similar comparison is made. Not exactly as in the Upanishad or Bhagavad Gita, but a different version is given here. Just as from a seed, a tree comes, it grows gradually and develops a huge trunk with so many main branches, secondary branches, twigs, leaves, etc. Then flower comes, fruits come, seeds come. So thus, by the time the tree dies, it has produced innumerable seeds and dispersed. So every tree survives in the form of its seeds. Similarly, every jiva survives and is born again. Thus, a tree comparison is made. And in this comparison, 10 common features are talked about between the tree and samsara. Right? Very involved shloka. Samsriti bhumijasya. Bhumijaha means a tree, right? Bhumi means earth, so born out of bhumi, bhumijaha, a jiva which originates from the earth. So here it is tree jiva. And bijam tu tamaha, the first common feature, a seed is there for a tree. So for the samsara tree also, there is an original seed. And that seed is tamaha, meaning ignorance. So ignorance is compared to the seed, not any ignorance, but self-ignorance here, right? So self-ignorance caused by the avarana shakti of tamaha. In short, the mula avidya is the seed. The only difference is seeds of the trees are produced, but the seed of samsara, mula vidya, is not produced. So it has been there from beginningless time. And that is why the very jiva is anadi. So this is comparison one. So samsriti bhumijasya bijam tu tamaha, self-ignorance. Second is ankuraha dehatma dhihi. Right? Ankuraha meaning sprout. The sprout originating from the seed is deha atmadihi. So this identification with the body, claiming that I am an individual living being, the individualization, the emergence of ahankara is called deha atmadihi. Dihi means the notion. Deha atma, the body alone is myself. Such a notion is the sprout. And that is why a jnani never identifies with his body. He never perpetuates samsara. He gets videha mukti. So this is the second comparison. Pallavam ragaha. Pallavam meaning emergence of the tender leaves of the trees or shoots of the tree, the third stage. After the sprouting, the next stage is appearance of the tender leaves. So it is called pallavam. Both genders are there. Ragaha. So once I identify pallavaha or pallavam. So both genders are available in this word. So ragaha, once I identify with the body, once I have a sense of limitation, I feel apurnaha. Therefore, I want to remove my apurnatvam, the inadequacy. Then I start desiring things, right? I want that. Right from childhood, I want that teddy bear, I want that Barbie doll, I want this, I want that. So kamaha, desiring thoughts, endless desire. And later on, the desire gets more like for bigger things, relationships, house, possessions, inheritance for the grandchildren, etc. Right? So some of the desires are acquired from Purva Janma Vasana. Some of the kamas are because of Purva Janma Vasana, right? So from avidya to ahankara to kamaha. So these are like pallavam, right? So then the fourth one is ambu karma. So where will the kama or desire lead us to? Karma means an effort or struggle to fulfill the desires. So if they're healthy desires, it will fructify into moksha, right? So a healthy desire is what I want: essential worldly resources and worldly relationships for acquiring the qualifications, right? I desire money and family for performing karma yoga, right? That is called right desire. Misplaced desire, when I seek to fulfill through money, is evil desire, right? So when I seek fulfillment through family life, right, it is misplaced desire. But if I seek purification, it is right desire. So desires will keep on multiplying, right? And there is no full stop to it. So karma is ambu. Ambu meaning watering of the samsara tree. So karma will produce punya papam, so much punya papam, which I cannot exhaust in one janma. Therefore, I keep some punya papam for the future janma. It will go and join the sanchita karma. Because of my karma and punya papam, I make sure that I have a next series of janmas. So that watering is nothing but karma, regular watering the samsara tree with all kinds of materialistic activities. Right? Then skandaha vapuhu. Skandaha. Here skandaha is dhaha, main trunk of the samsara tree, not skandaha. Right? It is skandhaha. So that Subramanya Swami skanda is first, this is second. So it is the central trunk of a tree here, right? And our body, Vapuhu, is compared to the trunk of the samsara tree. This is the fifth one. The sixth comparison is Shakikaha Asavaha. Shaka means the limb, the branch. So from the main trunk, so many supplementary branches are there, right? So it is exactly like Asavaha or Asuhu. Asuhu means Pranaha. So the prana shakti which is flowing through the body through all the several nadis. They say the nadis as per Shastra are about 72 crores, 72 lakhs or so, right? So this is the prana shakti that is getting transmitted. So once the branches are cut, the tree cannot survive, right? So similarly, once the prana is removed, the body cannot survive. So the body and prana are always together, and Shakikaha meaning the Shakahas are Asavaha. Asuhu means prana. So Asavaha is basically the Bahuvachanam of this. So Pranaha. This is the sixth one. Agrani Indriya Samhatihi. Agrani means the end portion of the branches, the outer part or the tips of the branches which are exposed to the atmosphere. The inside part is not visible, right? So it's the peripheral parts of all the branches, right, which absorb sunlight and do the photosynthesis, etc. Here, Indriya Samhatihi. So the 10 sense organs, especially the 5 Jnanendriyani are compared because they are also in the periphery of the body and exposed to the external universe. So Indriya Samhati means the group of sense organs, and they are exposed, they come in contact with sense objects, and because of that alone, Raga Dvesha comes, Kama Krodha comes, etc. So therefore, Agrani, peripheral part of the tree, are the groups of sense organs. Pushpani Vishayaha. What about the flowers? The flowers are connected to the periphery of the tree, then alone it can attract the bees. So that's why the flowers are not inside but are on the outside. So here also they are compared to the sense objects, right? Because even though we think Vishaya are outside, here the comparison is Agrani and flowers which are contacting each other. Basically, the sense organs and sense objects are contacting each other, right? So they are in constant touch, and sense objects are also very attractive, exactly like the flowers, right? So every object in this world is basically a padartha which gets converted into Vishayaha because we can either develop Raga or Dvesha, right? So Pushpani Vishayaha, then Phalam, right? Nana karma samudbhavam bahuvidam dukkham. So phalam dukkham. So the phalam, the flowers, the fruit has to come, which will either be delicious or sour. So two types of fruit, sukham and dukkham, giving happiness and unhappiness, pleasure and pain. So Acharya here emphasizes dukkham because it is predominant and we are helpless with that, right? So dukkham and occasional sukham. What type of dukkham? Dukkham is explained as bahuvidam dukkham, varieties of dukkham, right? Pain caused by our physical body because of diseases, because of the brain degenerating. They are all adhyatmikam, tapatrayam, right? Adhyatmikam is one. Adi bhautikam, the pain caused by other living beings, including other human beings, animals, plants, etc. That is Adi bhautikam. Family worries and all will come under that. Then Adi daivikam, caused by the inner part of the universe, the element, caused by the inert part, basically the bhumi, the vayu, etc. The bhumi tattvam, akasha tattvam, etc. Viruses, etc. comes under that. Jala Tattvam, fire, all of them. So these are the four. So any of the four elements can cause this problem. So Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautika and Adi Daivika related problems are referred to as Tapatrayam, determined by our karma. Therefore, he says Nana Karma Samudbhavam Bahuvidam, right? So the individual prarabdha will affect the individual. The total prarabdha will affect the total universe, right? So Nana Karma Samudbhavam Bahuvidam, varieties of Vyashti and Samashti karma, right? Then Atra Bhokta Kagaha Jivaha. So the fruits of the samsara tree are eaten by the birds. The fruit itself doesn't enjoy pleasure or pain. The fruit gives pleasure or pain to the birds which eat them. So Jivaha Kagaha. Kagaha means bird, the experiencing bird. So every jiva or living being is like the bird. A bhokta. A bhokta means experiencer of the fruits of the tree. So this is the samsara vriksha. And how does samsara persist? We are regularly watering the tree through our punya papa karma, right? So, in fact, Bhagavan doesn't create the world. He is forced to create the world in order to maintain, as the maintainer of the law of karma, he has to give the correct experiences for each of the jivas, right? So, for Ishvara Shrishti, right, there is a Samanya Karanam, right, and then there is a Jiva Shrishtihi, which is due to the Vishesha Karanam of individual karmas. So, the creation is basically a joint project, right, of the karmas as well as the Lord's Vikshepa Shakti, Bhagavan's, Ishvara's Vikshepa Shakti. So, Bhokta Atra Asmin Samsare Jivaha Kagaha. Right? So, this is the final comparison. In Mundaka Upanishad also, the simile is given. Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakaya Samanam Vriksham Parishasva Jate. Right? So, with this, the in Mundaka Upanishad, if you see, the Ishvara bird is treated as giving the phalam and the Jiva bird is consuming it. Right? So, with this, the 5 questions have been answered. The next question is going to be Katham Vimokshaha. How can the Jiva get out of this samsara chakra in which he is helplessly caught? That is the question. So, we will see this in the next class. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.